Dun 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 da 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 da. Hello everyone. If you're probably wondering who I am exactly, well, I'll give you pretty much a major clue. I basically am quite the chicken hunter.
Jack, I thought we pretty much discussed about this, that you shouldn't be doing that. Plus, that was uncool of you mistaking Mama Bird for one.
That was supposed to be a turkey thing, not chicken.
Well, they are called the Ferris chickens, so don't get any ideas.
Anyways, yeah, pretty much for a future video, you're gonna see how I ended up getting this body. And well, now I no longer look like that dino plant, whatever he is. So do pretty much enjoy this video. This is Jackal, and I'll see you around, my fans.
Okay, guys. It is time for Chapter 3 of The New Guy. Sorry if I was delaying this one, guys. I did try a few times, but let's just say I've had a bad chance of doing so. But don't worry, I am doing this, and hopefully I don't make a lot of screw-ups like before. Sorry. Anyways, with a 3, 2, 1, let's begin. Morning quietly brought forth its orange torch illuminating the midnight covers. The barracks was quiet, and most slept swaddled within the sheets. Only 3 were bright-eyed, doing as they pleased. 2 soldiers were getting a step ahead of the day and getting themselves ready for training, while the 3rd was already finished with his morning routine. Lightning sat upon his bed with his legs crossed, meditating. He didn't feel like eating, so he took care of his personal needs, such as his hygiene and grooming. He was waiting for the moment he could leave the small shack and train in the courtyard. He never forgotten his roots and never broken his old habits. He loved training, and he could never deny that. Lightning tried to leave earlier, but the door's automatic lock wouldn't budge. 5 and Meridian was the time the robot had told him the training grounds will be open. The Lynx's hands were tied. He needed to wait. There was no clock in the room he could refer to. But that didn't matter to him. Lightning was a man of patience, not like his earlier counterpart that he called his youth. The Lynx waited in silence. Nothing but the sound of the last crickets of the night and the first bird of the morning. His midnight ears twitched as the sound of metal clicked near the entrance of the barracks. Lightning sprung onto his feet and approached the door once again, turning the handle to find it was unlocked. He pushed the door forward and walked out of the building's shelter and into morning's cold breath. Most of the sky was still covered in the night's cloak. Very little of the sun's rays could be seen. Not the best time to try the obstacle course, in the Lynx's opinion.
Just a moment.
An early morning run would do his body well. Lightning continued to walk towards the main walkway. Once his foot hit the dry soil, he took off into the shadows. The Lynx knew where he was going. He took the time to study the map he was given of the vicinity. The road he was taking was equivalent to 8 miles and a complete loop around the recovery center. Lightning did his best to keep a steady pace throughout the whole run. He couldn't see too much of anything. The lights were dim and majority of the soldiers were still asleep. He would only pass by robots. There were only one or two who had Lightning's same mindset and took the advantage of the cool air. By the time he had made a full lap around the facility, the sun had finally peeked over the trees, illuminating the area in an orange glow. Lightning felt wide awake and completely energized. Since he could see the course clearly now, why shouldn't he try his luck? The rock wall was the closest to his location, and it's not often he gets to hone his climbing. It looked like a decent size with many twists, curves, and jagged edges at the user's disposal. The Lynx took a leap, grabbed onto one of the ledges, and pulled himself up. Lightning continued his training for the next several hours with minimal breaks. Since he tended to do this frequently, there was no harm or foe in his mind. Nice start. Anyways, the East Wing corridors was a specialized training ground usually reserved for the elite. The Doctor's top-of-the-line military weapons were rumored to be housed there, along with the other dark secrets. Only those with high-level clearances could enter. Any other personnel was denied access to the vicinity. Today would be one of the few exceptions of the regulation. Dr. Eggman has instructed a few of his egg bosses to choose their new mechs for his latest master plan. It's foolproof! His four selected personnel arrived right on time for the experiment. The Doctor watched behind a tinted bulletproof glass, observing the four. His two robot assistants were ready to discount their every move and send possible assistance if things go out of hand. Ma the Thylacine led the three down to the vast hangar or bay, filled with unfamiliar and advanced technology that has never been unveiled before. It was enough to rattle Nephis to her core. Nico was unmoved by such traffice. She was the Doctor's finest creation, after all. Then, of course, she's used to this kind of stuff. Danny only could stare in awe at the marvelous equipment. Okay, I'm back. Sorry for a little bit of the cut. Anyways, there's a total of 6 mechs to choose from at the moment. I was experimenting with a few of the designs and weaponry. Just choose wisely. Once the bond is made with the mech, it's yours. It locks onto your genetic imprint and cybernetic serial number. Any other connection will not activate the mech. Moss swiped the key card across a scanner, opening up another door into a mostly white room with the mechs inside. The Thylacine led them through a small set of stairs to reach the access point. 8 mechs stood tall and proud, each ranking to an average height of 3 stories. Maud directed the three's attention and persistent the mechs. Presented! Now we have E7000 codename Red Wolf, E7001 codename Deathhawk, E7002 codename Zeon, E7003, codename Dogpack. E7004, codename Scorpion. And E7005, codename Redtail. Take your pick and notify me when you're ready to go.
Tips on Red Wolf!
Nika called out with a chirp.
Dibs on Red Wolf. Yeah, that's better.
Ma rolled his eyes, knowing that the mech was her absolute favorite. Nephis and Danny giggled at the little red marked fox's response and continued to see the other mechs up close. Redtail was a crimson eagle-like being with a large wingspan and razor-sharp talons. Deathhawk was no different from the Redtail. It only had a jetpack paint and a more bulkier appearance. Scorpion took same aspects of a real scorpion, but it appeared more like a spider with the body counter. Red Wolf was a fairly large wolf-like being with a slender built body. Zeon definitely took the form of its animal counterpart, whoever was choosing this mech had to be the ringleader, which means high expectations. The choice was very difficult. How was one to choose out of such a vast assortment? A small set of dog-like mechs caught Danny's eye, especially since Ma said there was 6, not 8. Hey, Ma? Did you miscount or something, Kazi? I see 8. Ma walked over to the confused fox. These 3 are smaller than the average mechs and identical, and hence they're called Dogpack. The 3 dogs had a blue, red, and gold collar, marking the individual pieces. I originally based them off of the egg Cerberus. As you can see, marvelous, aren't they?
So basically, Ma made Cerberus. Well, if Danny basically can tame Cerberus in the dream world, she could definitely tame this one.
The fox took a good long look upon the metal dogs. This one seemed to suit her well. ...
I'll take this one.
Ma turned to face her. Are you sure? This is your final decision. The fox nodded.
This is the one.
Okay then. Ma unlocked the access gate to the mech and waved her to go through. Head to the blue one. That is the central mech that will be downloaded and sent the information into the other 2. Danny did as she was instructed and waited near the blue mech. Nika casually waited at the Red Wolf's gate. Ma was not going to activate any of the mechs until everyone chose and was ready to mount. Dr. Eggman's orders. Nephis walked around the platform, wondering what to pick. She honestly didn't want to be here, nor to be in this position. The only reason why she got the upgrade was due to her cybernetics shifting into her spinal cord. Aw, poor Nephis. Redtail appealed to the vulture the most. Or maybe it was just the bird in her talking.
Ma?
She called out.
Can I take Redtail?
Ma gave her a nod and unlocked the access gate. Just wait for my signal, the 3 of you. If you are not in the right position at the right time, I guarantee you the effects will hurt.
Okay.
The thylacine opened another access gate, the Zeon.
Oh, I get it. It's supposed to be a pun on lion. First few times reading this, I didn't even know. Now I get it. Learn something new every time you read.
Anyways, now listen up. I do not like repeating myself, and these machines can get extremely complicated. So keep your ears open, and I'll try to explain it to you as simplicity as my mind will permit.
What? Ma doesn't speak normalese? Or non-scientistese?
Nika and Danny, oh wait, it's still Ma talking. Nika and Danny, you mount onto the mechs as you would do on a horse.
That's questionable. I mean, what, do they ride on horses? Like, legit horses? Because, honestly, that's questionable. So there are some animals that are basically evolved, and some are not. Is that like enslavement? Isn't that like in that one cartoon where basically cows were actually riding on horses? In space? I don't know, it just seems weird to me. Shout out if you guys know what I'm talking about that cartoon.
Use the step ladders to get on to the designated connection point, aka the saddle. The foxes did as they were constructed and sat on top of the backs of the metal animals. Nephis, Red Tail is different. You need to step into the body and align yourself within the scanner's range. Back against the wall facing out of the mech, there should be an illuminated outline of the metal surface. Use that as a guide.
Oh no, the dreaded cough is coming back. Moment, guys!
Okay, I'm good.
Trust me, guys, if you pretty much had to hear me do that, you wouldn't like it. Trust me. So sorry if I pretty much had to pause.
Anyways, Nymphis hesitantly stepped into the hollow body and slowly leaned against the cold metal. Ma got onto his mech, seeing 3 were ready.
The 3 were ready. Ugh.
Activating the scanners. Stay still until you hear the beep. Ma gave the signal to the control center to start. The 4 stood as statues as the Blu-rays.
Ma's using the power of Blu-rays to do this. Who'd have thought? Didn't think he was a moviegoer.
Glided over their bodies. It took several seconds until the scanner finished and the beep was sounded. Metal launches clink loosely onto the body as the users seemed to be a bit alarmed to a few of their preparations.
Part pens. What's happening now?
No.
What's happening now?
The vulture asked in a panicked tone. The launches are to help us stay on top of the mechs. Without them, we would be flung off in minutes. In the case of emergencies, the locks will automatically release you. They are usually tighter than this, but someone is bound to trip or make a wrong move today.
Nika looked over at him and asked, You better have fixed that problem with the port connection between users and mechs, or we just might ruin another robot. And the soldier. Say what?
The other fox exclaimed. She's just toying with you, Danny. We resolved that problem ages ago. But this part will still be uncomfortable, no matter what we do. The room felt silent. The final stage is important. Imprinting your cybernetic mark on the mech. In order for it to do so, the mech needs to connect into your cybernetics system and stay locked until you dismount. The mech will connect into your cybernetic system, not the other way around. It's going to sting, so try to relax your body as much as you can. Just give the word and we'll activate the connection. Ma gave his signal, followed by Nika. Danny took a couple of deep breaths and gave her signal. So what, you gotta raise your hand or something? Nemphis wanted to get this over with, knowing there was no avoiding the situation. She nodded and gave her signal. The doctor watched with a grin and signaled Orbot to activate the ports. With a single command, the mech's system activates. Systems activated. Thin, snake-like wires slowly crawled out of the panels of the mech, making their way into the small ports within their bodies. Danny did her best not to freak out. She only waited for what was to come. Well, she basically's been around reptiles, and plus she's got Mordred, so my guess is that she's gonna see Mordred after this. You know, when pretty much it is needed. Never mind. Nika didn't mind the feeling. She tested the system several times and knew it well enough. Nemphis kept her eyes shut, not wanting to see the appealing sight. Ma was keeping count on the timing of the connections, just to keep his mind distracted. So I guess he's basically uneasy about this too. See, even Ma doesn't have to be Mr. Perfect. Not all the time, at least. Silence reigned through the room. After what seemed like an eternity, a deep, agonizing shock shot through the four's bodies, creating a major discomfort. The echoing shrieks could describe the feeling well enough. The mech slowly started to activate, moving and twitching as the bond was set. A few minutes passed until the cries died down into a subtle pants. Is everyone alright? Oh, wait. Work. Moment. Okay. I'm good to go. Anyways. Is everyone alright? Ma called out, still trying to recollect his composure.
Super good, honey,
Nika said with a slight loopy tone in her voice. Danny had her head against the dog's neck, sloped over, groaning.
I hear Danny, but I don't hear words.
The other fox playfully chirped. Danny lifted her head to face her. Shut up. She groaned and slammed her head back against the metal dog. Ma chuckled at the two's playful nature. Ah, oh, that's cute. Nemphis, are you still with us? Wait. That'll be work. No answer came from the vulture. Nemphis, respond. The thylacine asked again firmly. He couldn't see her well from his angle, but he could tell that she wasn't moving. Oh no. Ah, shoot. He muttered. The thylacine unlocked his mech from the auto partitions and swiftly moved towards the vulture's side, making the ground shake upon every step. The two foxes watched in concern, hoping that Nemphis was okay. Nephis! Ma exclaimed. He waited for a sound, a twitch, anything to say if she was alive. A moment passed until Ma noticed the vulture's head shifted to the side. The three leaned in with pins and needles, I see what you did there, Danny, poking at their minds.
I blacked out.
Ma sighed and backed away, seeing she was okay. She was awake. Danny and Nika sighed in relief, hearing Nephis's voice. I guess you need to get used to the connection sequences. Can you still move? The vulture slowly rolled her shoulders to shake off the stiff feeling. Her motor controls and movement didn't seem to be a problem. You'll be fine. Ma turned back, seeing that the vulture was all right, and made his way towards the two anxious foxes. She'll be okay. You two need to focus on the controls of your mechs. Now that they are synchronized with your cerebral cortex, you control it from inside here. He said, pointing to his head. Nika already had a foothold of the controls. Unlike her partitions and starting to move out of the courtyard. Out to the courtyard. Ugh. Danny hesitantly unlocked the mech and held on to the mechanical dog as much as her grip would permit. Start with verbal commands. Baby steps. Forward. Wait. Forward. Her voice trembled, hoping for the best. The dog charged forward, ramming into a wall. The thylacine tried to refrain from laughing as he moved towards the fox's side. Be especially specified with your commands. The more details given, the better chances that won't happen again. He said, gesturing towards her slight impatience. But, just a moment. He said, gesturing towards her slight incompetence. But he shouldn't blame her too much. He did the exact same thing on a couple test runs. Guess Ma himself basically wasn't always perfect as we thought. The fox groaned as she pushed herself upright again. Back up a couple steps. Slowly. The metal dog calmly took a few steps back, shaking its head just as Danny did. Ma found this as a positive reaction. The mech, mimicking the action of the users without verbal commands, was exactly what he wants. Walk to the door. Danny let the mech lead her towards the door where the grinning fox was waiting.
Headbanging.
Shut up! The two entered into the field to practice. Ma went back to Nephis's side to see if she was ready. The color was returning to her feathers. Clearly her feathers were white and black. How much more did she lose? So she should be able to continue with the training. Ready to dismount?
I guess so.
The vulture unlocked her partitions and the console door shut, symbolizing locks and scanners appeared, catching the older bird off guard. Redtail cannot function the same way the other mechs do. That's why your locks are more firm. Your whole nervous system directly is wired to Redtail. So you treat the mech as it is your own body. She was speechless at the capability of the machine. All the more reason to fear the way that thylacine thinks. When ready, close your eyes and use the override command, nerve switch. Nephis mustered all of her courage as she closed her eyes and let the words escape her beak. Nerve switch. No, wait. Nerve switch. She instantly felt her consciousness being moved. Yet she could still feel her physical body. Ma watched, reading her bioscanner, seeing that the transfer was 100% success. Okay, you can open your eyes now. The thylacine stated, waiting for Redtail's eyes to activate. Nephis opened her eyes to find herself in a slightly different position. She was no longer surrounded by a metal case, but wide in the open. She could feel her limbs, but they were no longer how she used to see them. It was the limbs of Redtail. She looked upon her new body in astonishment. Is this really my body? The answer is yes and no. Your sight and movement is restricted to the mech now until you use the switch command to gain your physical body's control again. Nephis looked down at her chest to slightly see her body through the tinted panel. A freaky sight she wished she never glanced at. The vulture shook her head and started to walk cautiously to the courtyard. Ma signaled the doctor to move to the observation deck as he moved out to meet up with the three. Arbot, mark down that connection, and motion controls are a success, the mad doctor said with a pleasant tone as he moved to the observation deck. The courtyard was a nickname given to the facility's training area. The floor was covered with artificial grass. The walls were lined with white panels of metal, and invisible cameras and projectors were hidden among the room. The two walk in to find the two foxes having a small tussle with their mechs, almost like young pups would when bored. No, that's cute. Nika had the upper hand, holding the other fox down against the turf. This is no fair! This is my first time using this thing! All's fair in love and war! Ma rolled his eyes at the fox's shenanigans. Nephis couldn't help but smile at the two's playful nature. Help me, Mommy! Danny whined to the motherly bird for assistance. She cautiously walked up and pushed Nika off. Hey, I was having fun! The red mark started to whine. Save it for when she knows how to control the mech better. Ma firmly commanded his wife. Anyway, we will be starting Mech Controls 101. We start with basic controls such as walking, running, and basic weaponry first, before entering the more complicated functions. We are still working on the armor system for those who ride using the E7000 to E7004. And other mechs such as those, Nephis, you're covered. So anyone using the style mech you are, and remaining should be of no concern. Now, let's start with a slow walk. Moss starts moving around, giving an example to the three. Basic speed. Control it as if the mech was your own body, or the mech will control you. In other words, don't mess up, or you'll be getting a trip to the hospital, or worse. So don't do anything stupid.
Jeez. Very strict guy at times.
Anyways, he moved along the wall, walking around the vast area. Nika followed shortly after him, leaving the slower ones in the back. Nephis was wobbly on the knees and tripping every other step. Danny slowly picked up speed as she got used to controls. She even got ahead of the thylacine near the end. The four continued to walk around until everyone was rooted in the controls. Okay, we are ready to pick up speed. Moss started to enter a jogger's pace and slowly accelerated to a running speed. The three followed after him, trying to get in his training. The training wasn't so hard, but Nephis was having a bit of trouble with the corner turns, banging into the walls. Ouch, every time. Moss stopped to help the dizzy bird after the third lap. I might have neglected to inform you that Redtail was made for straight patterns on ground levels, since flight gives the mech more agility. Nephis sighed at Ma's response.
This would have been good information to know, Ma.
The thylacine helped her up and pulled her onto her side before the foxes mowed them over. They were learning quickly, and since they were no longer using verbal controls, maybe it was time to try the weapon systems. You two can stop now. Ma yelled at the foxes across the room. Nika was able to halt with relative ease, while Danny stopped to abruptly, sending her flying several feet forward. The mech stood still, waiting for its master's return. What did I say earlier, Danny? Moz said with an irked manner. The fox stayed still as she got up, spitting the artificial grass from her mouth. She climbed back on the blue dog and shook off the throw. Ugh. Ma walked in front of the three, ready to give the next instructions. Now that the three of you are good on movement, it's time to test your weapon systems for battle. Each of you is different, so I will give you the basic attacks we all have in common, such as pouncing, clawing, and biting, or pecking. The metal bird face-palmed at the command she knew was addressed towards her specifically. It almost brought a smile onto the thylacine's face. Ma signaled the doctor to pull up a projection of their target. A pixelated hedgehog that resembled that blue rodent appeared in front. Use the 3 attacks I told you on the hologram. Catch him, dead or alive. The 3 looked at each other in confusion.
Hey, you're not going to teach them first?
Nika blurted out. I believe in learning in the heat of battle. Ma smirked as the blue blur started to roll off into a spin dash. The 3 scattered to avoid the attack.
Hey boss, do you think it's safe to be using this new projection thingy-majig?
The Cubot assistant asked, Hey Cubot.
The jewel Wendy found is still unstable. The realistic projections is still the only thing I can use that will contain it without blowing up on someone. They'll be fine.
Robotnik waved as the test proceeded. Nika was trying to chase down and corner the hedgehog so she would have a better range of attack. Nephis was trying to stay alive, using her blade-like wings as a shield. Ma occasionally took a jab at the hologram, but the others needed the training more than him. Danny was practicing on her own terms, where the three were not. One of the few instances where her invisible nature aided her. Ugh. My bad. The hologram speedily attacked Nephis, making her fall onto the ground. Nika tried to catch him while he was distracted, only for the hedgehog to jump out of her range, making the fox ram straight into Nephis. The striped tiger was not liking the looks of this. It was his time to intervene. He managed to corner the hedgehog. After a moment's chase, Ma waited until he felt the moment was right, wanting to snatch the thing in the lion's jaws. He slowly winded up the machine and lunged at the hedgehog, only for him to move before he could get close. Ma quickly maneuvered the mech's body so that he would slam into the side, smashing his leg in the process. He winced in pain as he got the lion to move away from the wall. He invalidated his leg. No real damage, just a lot of bruising. Ma was about to chase after the hologram again, but the mechanical dog charged out of the blue and snatched it in its metal jaw. The thylacine looked up to face the mech who caught the hedgehog. It was Danny.
Of course.
Before he could speak any words, she slipped and the mech came tumbling down to the floor. The fox ended up rolling over onto the mech's side, still holding the nuisance. The hologram turned red and disappeared, signaling the end of the test. Ma wasted no time to assist the pinned fox. He turned the metal dog over to its stomach and inspected the blue fox. Danny? She slowly turned onto her side in a daze. Got him, she answered with a chuckle and a thumbs up. The thylacine dismounted and released her locks. Not bad, but your actions were stupid. But I slept. I slept. That's better. She whined. Ma sighed and helped the fox get back into position. I believe we are done for the day. Drop off your mechs at your access gate and you are permitted to leave. You are not authorized to release any information pertaining to the other available mechs. You can blab about yours all you want. We'll have your passes printed and emitted into your system by tomorrow morning, so we won't have to wait for each other. Arrive back here, same time, same place, no exceptions, dismissed.
Jeez, talk about Ma getting a big spotlight here. Then again, I actually am liking this.
The four made their way back to the lab, dropped off their mechs, and left for their bases. Within the testing tower, the doctor was quite pleased with the results.
Mark my words, you pesky little twerp. I have my greatest inventions coming at you.
The mad doctor started to chuckle as it slowly ascended into an evil laughter. As the four left, Danny was called out by Ma. You do realize that you need to deliver the new Egg Boss's uniform and escort him to his new room, right? Danny pondered at this for a moment. The fox froze in her tracks and slumped over with a groan.
I guess that bath will have to wait.
She wiped the sweat from her brow and called for her transport. There was a slight limp in her step, and she wasn't walking at a normal pace. The thylacine couldn't let her go by herself in case she collapsed on her way to the recovery center. Hang on, I'm coming with you. Hang on, I'm coming with you. The thylacine followed after her to the docking bay. Midday struck like a blade upon the ground as the sun continued to show its face. Lightning had already practiced on the whole entire course, to some avail. He casually stood upon the highest beam of the obstacle course, looking over the other soldiers. The cool breeze gently caressed his fur, and the rays of the sun gently kissed his skin. He felt like he had done enough training for now, and a time of meditation should do his body well. Lightning leaped down and landed firmly on the ground. He shook off the leftover sweat from his face and made his way back to the barracks. Upon arrival, he came across two familiar faces. It was Danny and that yellow tiger who was referred to as Ma.
Hey!
The fox tried to say in her usual upbeat tone, but it came out as an apologetic yelp. The lynx's ears twitched back a bit at the pitiful sound. He noticed large purple spots around her left side of her upper leg and stomach. It was a deep color which led to him to believe that it was severe. Are you okay? Your left looks bad. Let's just say that she got into a small training accident, but she'll be fine. Ma said, petting her right shoulder.
Anyway, we came here to bring you this.
The fox exchanged her arms, revealing a brand new uniform, firmly nice in her palms. With a pair of shoes and gloves, she warmly smiled and handed it to the lynx.
This is your new uniform. You should get a couple more pairs once we can confirm that this is the right size for you.
I'm assuming definitely it was Danny. Please don't correct me on that. Lightning skimmed over the light blue attire. It almost reminded him of his old clothes before he left behind. He was left behind, just a lot more vibrant. He took the clothes and went inside to try it on. Ma did notice the sweat that covered his body, making him wonder if he was training. He just got his enhancements the other day. He hoped there was no major defect within the system. The lynx returned 10 minutes later with the uniform on. It suited him quite well.
You look fantastic,
Danny said with a smile. Ma stepped in front of the lynx and asked him a couple of questions. May I ask you, have you been training by any chances? Have you been training by any chances? Lightning nodded. I have been training ever since the doors unlocked this morning. And it's 1:48 now. And you haven't experienced any discomfort or pains in the body? Ma looked at the lynx curiously. No, I went on with my day like I usually would. There was no pain at all. The thylacine raised a brow. Intriguing. I guess my perfections about the new cybernetics enhancements were right. Predictions. The recovery time would have reduced severely. He cracked a small smile at the result. Danny rolled her eyes as his prideful tone. She knew the look he gives when he marvels at his craftsmanship.
Anyway, I believe it is time to escort you to your room.
The lynx looked up at the fox with tilted ears. He was already getting moved? He thought it would take a month or so to squeeze him in.
The doctor decided to place me in charge of you, meaning that you'll be needing to stay near me for the majority of your introduction,
The fox stated. Lightning was still confused by all this. He was born in a place that never used modern technology.
And since you seem to be training just fine on your own, we can start tomorrow at the foregrounds, okay?
Oh, yes, of course. He bowed towards her in respect. Danny did the same, which brought a small smile to the lynx's face.
Well, let's get you to your room.
She turned around and slowly started walking back to the entrance. Lightning still couldn't figure out why she was injured or what the accident was. She'll bounce back by tomorrow. If she survives through the night tomorrow. If she survives through tomorrow.
Geez, Ma, give a guy encouragement much?
Lightning kept quiet after hearing the thylacine statement and followed after the fox. Ma followed the two soon after. The flight to the main base was mineral and smooth. No enemies in sight to shoot them down. The transport docked at the landing pads with prior ease and let the passengers depart.
Welcome to the main base, center of our operations. You'll be dorming here until we find you a permanent base.
Danny spoke with excitement in her voice as they entered the hallway.
Since I am considered to be a spy in the Egg Boss divisions, I do not have a permanent base to house, and I keep most of my belongings here. You should too, in case of emergencies.
Lightning mentally jotted down the notes as they continued on. He wasn't paying too much attention due to him trying to stay aware of his new surroundings.
I'll be training you here from now on. I warn you though, I'm a bit of a tough teacher when it comes to newbies. I almost flunked the first one.
Gee, I wonder who that could be. Danny muttered the last sentence under her breath.
We'll find a place.
Oh, that's small. We'll find a place for her once she gets her cybernetics. The doctor's orders is that no one is to be out on missions until the cybernetics are equipped.
Well, that's a major load.
And whose fault was that, mister? I take pride in my work.
The fox teased with a grin.
Shut up. My daughter was sick that week, and you know that.
Sure she was.
Lightning stayed quiet, confused at the two's argument. He let the two bicker as they arrived in the dorming room area.
Anyway, this is my room. If you need anything, don't be afraid to give a knock. I should be there. If not, I'm either on a mission or out doing something else.
Lightning looked at the door and room number, marking it on his locator map. He knew he would need to ask her questions as he continued to adjust. The three continued on and took a right turn until the fox stopped them.
Here it is, room 582. This'll be yours.
The lynx approached the door curiously. His map did show that this room was now occupied by a soldier, but he was still unsure about it. Ma unlocked the door and turned on the lights. Lightning peeked in to see the setup. It was a fairly small room with a few chairs, small kitchen, 3 center couch, 2 coffee tables, a bedroom, and medium bed. He couldn't complain. This was way neater compared to his earlier home, if he were to call his old place a home. You can go ahead and pack your things. We'll alert the doctor that you moved in and get you a pass so you can access certain areas in the base. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. Danny waved and walked off with Ma, leaving the Lynx alone. Ugh. Lightning dropped his bag on the couch and walked around the room. The color was pretty dull, keeping with the light metal blue shades on the walls and floor, and most of the furniture was color white. Not Lightning's taste, but he was content. His bedroom was no bigger than 8 by 10 feet. The bed sat along the left, and the bathroom and closet were on the right. He sat on the bed and tried to take in his current situation. First, he was hired to scope out an unknown facility. Then he was abandoned by the other men when caught. And now he was part of the Eggman Empire's top ranks. He couldn't understand why he was so accepting of the matter. Maybe it was just the brainwashed portion of him talking. What he did know was that he never wanted to step near that cursed facility again. Every day being dragged off into that room and forced to bend to their will was soul-crushing and draining. Lightning never knew what he did to deserve that sort of treatment. Why life decided to throw another curveball at him, he will never understand. The only thing he ever wanted was to go back to Eurasia. It's been 5 years since he last glanced upon his home village. How he wished to step foot within its gates once more and see his family and friends again. He missed the natural environment and vast scenery of the portion of Eurasia. The Dragon Kingdom has a rich history shrouded in mystery. Only those who had the privilege to the village there could know it upon a heavier scale. Nothing could ever come close to his home, but he could never return, no matter how hard he prays. Banishment is a permanent outlaw, and gaining that honor and trust is next to impossible. You have a better time creating a whole new life than trying to earn the old one back. How he was ended up banished was still confusing to him. Was it something he did or something he said? Only one thing could come to his mind when he thought about the matter. The one time he spoke his mind about the current situations occurring in the village. The leader despised his ideas and ignored him, even though many agreed with his reasoning. A few weeks later in battle, Lightning was wounded and his leg was caught in an enemy trap. The leader knew he was there, but never helped the struggling Lynx. Instead, banishment was his treatment for his failure. Lightning never cried for help or was running away from the battle. He just couldn't see the trap in front of him. To this day, he never knew why the leader came to that conclusion. All he knew was that no one came looking for him. He was left behind and forgotten. His anger and hatred grew towards his leader, and if he lived on, he swore vengeance upon her. Connie, you're an ice-cold Felicia. A group of scavengers found lightning and took him into their home near the east coast of Urish. Now that he looks back upon his life, he found it a small blessing to be banished. It had taken lightning a whole new side of the world, one he had never knew existed. He discovered things about himself he never knew and learned more about those around him. Lightning had to lower himself to see the world through a whole new perspective. It wasn't pretty though. It was the direct opposite of anything nice. He had seen people starving upon the sidewalks, families divided, gang violence, shootings, murders, and a lot of more fouler things he wished he could unsee and never knew existed. It showed him how sheltered and blind he was for all of his life and how fortunate he was compared to others. Lightning was given a new sense of gratitude and thankfulness in his everyday life. Over time, he eventually forgotten all about his previous offenses and brushed it off as if it was dirt. Revenge would do him nothing, nor would it be justified. Lightning was happy where he was now. He would never trade those experiences for anything in the world, not even for the trip back home, though he still clung on to the hope that he would see his home again. Maybe in the future he can. But if he couldn't, he didn't mind. He was making a new life for where he is now. Gee, Lightning. Feel pretty bad for him. But at least there's more depth to him. Also, thanks, Danny, for actually making his reboot actually be more important. And also the Mex. Can't forget about that. Anyways, Lightning continued to ponder upon the subject until a notification appeared upon his Renata screen. Reminder, dinner starts at 6 p.m. The cafeteria will close at 7:30 p.m. Grab your meal before it is too late. He looked at the digital time, reading 7:17 p.m. The link shot up from the bed, not realizing the time he spent reflecting. Lightning rushed out of the room and pulled up the map of the facility so he would know where the cafeteria was. He took a couple of wrong turns here and there, but he eventually made it to 10 minutes to spare. The room was vast, probably to house an attendance of 1,000 men. There were 4 vertical rows of the tables stretching all the way in the end of the room, where the kitchen was. Most of the room was empty, and the tables were cleaned. Only 3 soldiers were there finishing their meals. Lightning slowly made his way back to see if there was any food left, but by the looks of it, he missed out. It was alright. He never ate much anyway, and this wasn't the first time he had to go hungry for a night or two. As he turned around, he sensed someone behind him looking at him. Hey, did you get something to eat? A shy voice came from behind. The lynx faced the mysterious man that stood behind the counter. He was small with light lavender feathers. Oh, I know who this is! That covered most of his body, and wore a dark purple attire. His body's form wasn't like a normal Mobian. He stood normally, but his knees were bent on the opposite direction. He almost like a deer or a horse, and 4 sharp fangs stuck out of his jaw, similar to his but longer. Oh, Danny, thank you for actually giving him to be a purpose in this. Even if it is just a cameo, it's still nice. Or a small role. Whichever. I don't recall seeing you come by. Come to think of it, I've never seen your face before. Lightning shook out of his daze the moment he realizes he was talking to him. I just transferred here a few hours ago. Oh, I see. I get people like that all the time. I get people like that all the time, he said with a chirp and a smile. I have extras in the back. Do you still want to eat? No thanks. I prefer something light. It's already getting late as it is. The Ling shield away, preparing to step out. I can't let a soldier go hungry. The being walked back into the kitchen, grabbing something from the fridge. It was a small bowl of yogurt with crumbled pieces of granola. He grabbed a plastic spoon and placed it on the counter where Lightning could reach it. Here you go, low-fat Greek yogurt. Aww, very thinking healthy, buddy. Then again, he always does. Lightning looked at the bowl curiously as he took it from the feathery chef. Thank you, he said with a bow of respect. The boy smiled back at him and nodded. Just remember next time, and you should be okay. As Lightning started to turn, he realized he never got the boy's name. He froze and turned back to the feathery boy. Pardon me, but I never got your name. The boy looked up to face him. Oh, my name's Darian. What's yours? Oh, Darian. Yes, Fluffball. Anyways, Lightning. Oh, wait, that's Lightning's. Lightning. Darian smiled. Well, I hope you can adjust. Well, it can get a little hectic sometimes, but it's nice once you get into the swing of things. The lynx cracked a small smile and tilted his head. With no other words, he returned back to his dorm. The rest of the night was silent and peaceful for the lynx. He wanted to get as much rest as he could for tomorrow's training. Danny didn't look like she was kidding when she said that she was a tough grader. The day they met testified to her statement. Lightning washed his dishes in the sink and left to dry upon the rack. He went off to his room and took a quick shower and went straight to bed. The lights faded and the lynx slowly drifted off into his slumber for the night. And that is it. I am so sorry this took a lot longer than expected. Not just pretty much on the video time, but that it took a lot longer to actually do this thing. Let's just say, guys, I'm basically someone who was kind of busy throughout that whole time. But anyways, what can I say? It's nice to see another chapter get done, and well, there's more on the details about what these mechs are, and the fact of what Lightning is doing. Also, Darian's the chef. That's what I made his role. He's an egg boss, but he's mainly the chef. Characters that I made, Danny pretty much isn't going to use them because she doesn't know. She basically has no intentions on using them since, well, A, it would kind of take away experience from the story, and B, well, let's just say I kind of made them, well, different. But it's nice to see that one of them made it. So yeah, Danny, you did great. Can't wait to see when the next chapter will be. And for the rest of you, I hope you all enjoyed this. And I hope you had a few laughters in this. This is Ashley. Bye-bye, everyone.